Jim Willie, who I do know at some point we're going to lose for a little bit. Already was aware of that. So at some point you're going to have to put up with me, guys, while I talk about whatever it is Mr. Willie was talking about. But I absolutely love it when you come on this show, and I do also forewarn people that maybe you are not necessarily up to your usual hyper-energetic self, which I love and appreciate. But as I told you in a Skype message just before, full disclosure, I said, look, Jim Willie at 50% is a hell of a lot better than most people at 300% and just about anybody really at 500%. So guess what? We still have the best possible commentator and individual to break all this down. Jim Willie, again, the editor of the Hat Trick newsletter and founder of GoldenJackass.com. And I love that story you tell me about why it is called GoldenJackass.com. We don't need to get into it today, but look back in the archives for that discussion. It is really humorous, and I love the story. So, Jim, how are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I got a bit of a head cold. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I'm basically okay. I have a little bit of trouble with the throat. Didn't sleep well the last couple of nights. But, I'm here. I'm able to think. I'll have some energy bursts for a while, and I'm sure I'll fall asleep right after the interview. But I don't care. I'm gonna turn on the Celtics and see if they get blown out by Cleveland again. The King James, LeBron, boy, I tell you, he is a phenom. So anyway, let's get to the meat of stuff here. We're in very weird grounds now. We're getting, oh my goodness, it's getting scary. Why don't you just ask the question and I'll follow you, but I'm just seeing so many signals, Chuck, that we're in really dangerous, fractured times.
Well, we certainly are. Now, there's some business as usual because, look, people are making a big deal in certain news circles, which is really stupid, that, President Trump is going to Saudi Arabia. I'm not really moved by that in any way, shape, or form because, look, the Saudis are always players, or at least have been over the course of my lifetime, have always been players when it comes to the U.S. economic interests for good reason. We all know what it is. It all comes down to what? Black gold, as they say, right? And there's a lot of interactions that occur here between the government of our alleged government of our country and the Saudis. I mean, there's always this interesting relationship, and Trump is just over there, towing the line and doing the normal thing, which is to go there and solidify the situation. But there might be a little something more to it because, as we discussed on a previous show, the Saudis had done that thing of leaving the spigot open, which changed and I do mean about oil production. They had changed the landscape, if you will, of oil and this kind of thing, and that links to a little something called the petrodollar. So, what is the significance of the current event? Is there anything different? Is there anything happening that's really noteworthy?
Whatever we're told is the agenda, I think is probably number 3 on the list with respect to Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia. Here's what I think is going on. They're worried sick that the Saudis are going to begin selling oil to China and maybe to parts of Asia and accept RMB currency. Because the Saudis might be asked to participate in a new Chinese RMB-priced oil contract on the futures market. This would be a direct, the contract itself would be a direct assault and challenge of the U.S. dollar linkage to crude oil, which has been known as the de facto petrodollar standard for 40 years. Over 40 years. It was 1973 when it began. Maybe 1974. So that's one big thing. It's a warning to the Saudis, don't rock the petrodollar at its anchor. and that's Saudi Arabia. And here's what I think the threat would be. We'll kill you.
Just that direct, though, because
we'll have terrorism aided by all kinds of different security agencies, East and West, by Middle East and West, and we'll kill you. We'll make sure that your civil disorder comes up and results in a palace coup, and we will kill you.
See, and I thought it was,
or we'll kill you.
Right, and I thought it was already a shot across the bow, pretty much, that they allowed certain things to go forward in a legal sense against the Saudis. Their position changed. At one point, we got reports that they were having trouble making their municipal payments, even because of the sudden sort of stoppage in that huge flow of cash that was constantly coming in and out because of their position as the key to the petrodollar, right? I mean, isn't that true, or am I misreading the situation?
No, the Saudis have been dealing with rather extreme deficits now for 2 years, ever since the oil price went below, 80, 75, 70. The Saudis are suffering from deficits. So they have been making up for it by offering bonds. And it's kind of unusual. The Saudis never have offered bonds, sovereign bonds, to cover their deficits, but they've got a rather extensive welfare state. Just think of it as a lot of poor Saudis receiving, food supplements. I don't know the exact type of food supplements, but they're paying off the poor, not to begin an uprising, as the royals steal 95% of the nation's wealth and put it in Switzerland, Los Angeles, and other points. Right. London property. Okay, there's another side to the visit, and this is very important. Trump is there to tell them, continue with the dollar, continue with the oil sales in the dollar, so that you could be guaranteed weapons supply for their disgusting war in Yemen. We're told that it's sectarian challenges, and we're told that it's Shiites versus the Sunnis.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Pardon me?
I was going to say that the Sunni Shiite struggle, which has been going on forever, basically, this is the alleged reason for it. But the Yemeni conflict is actually a lot more complicated than that. Even if we witness some of our actions over there, which are not covered by anybody's news, alternative, mainstream, or otherwise, the U.S. is over there actually quite a bit in support of the Saudis' agenda in Yemen. Again, one of those undeclared situations where we have military action, but nobody's calling it a war or conflict or anything else. Thankfully, we haven't had a lot of U.S. bodies returned from that engagement. But I mean, this is part of the reality. There is hot engagements occurring in Yemen, and the Saudis are key in there, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but so are U.S.-made weapons.
Oh, but that's the point now, because they even said blatantly, publicly, look, it's also about a weapons thing. We're going to sell them weapons. That's where it gets mistranslated. Are we selling them weapons? Are we offering them weapons for some other considerations? Obviously, it's a bargaining chip if they want to maintain their actions, let's call them, in Yemen, right?
Yeah, it is, and I would like to know how much of it is cash, how much of it is, say, other forms. Maybe there's some Saudi gold. But this is very complicated and somewhat nasty. We're going to tell them that we want to complete the $100 billion weapons deal over a stretch of time, and that we're fully on board for their war crimes. And here's where it gets weird. And if they drop the petrodollar, we'll kill them. So we're going to honor the war crimes and threaten to kill them.
Well,
we're not on honorable ground a lot. This is very weird. Okay, let's just get off this for a bit. The Saudis are in a tough spot. They're trying to make some oil output deals with Russia so that Russia and the Saudis can work together and engineer, say, a rise in the oil price steadily above 50 and stably maybe above 55, and this is kind of difficult. So I have word from my own sources that the Russians have zero respect for the Saudis and are going to use them as much as they can for any Eurasian trade zone purposes, namely get them to use the RMB in Asian oil sales. And when they're done with the Saudis, they might help to overrun the kingdom. That's what I'm hearing regarding Russia. I don't mean like armed entry. I mean like, pull the rug out, do something, force bond decline, force bond default, end the war in Yemen, and expose the fact that the Saudis have been lying for 10 years about their reserves for oil. Why are they in Yemen with this war? The answer is simple. To steal Yemen's oil reserves. They live on the same peninsula. I mean, it's like, it's like Texas and Louisiana. Saudi and Yemen. It's the same Arabian Peninsula. Same geology. They got lots and lots of oil and gas, and it's not permitted to be mentioned in the news. That's what the Saudis want. They are being told, get some progress with your war so that you can take the reserves and start production. Okay. This is very messy. The U.S. is not on the right side. Again, whenever there's a war involved, I'm pretty sure the U.S. is on